Hi guys, Kuro here. I started playing Honkai Star Rail just after the release of version 1.2, and I totally enjoyed the game. I managed to rush through the story very quickly. Unfortunately, blasting through the game like that led to some rookie mistakes. Here are some tips that I thought would be useful to fellow beginners for a smooth early game. First, always check your enemies' levels and weaknesses, and plan accordingly. It's easy to get used to brute forcing your way through the game since the early stages kinda allow it. However, once you fight stronger enemies, you will realize that planning around your enemies' weaknesses will make your life a whole lot easier. Taking advantage of the enemy's elemental weakness is important because this allows you to deal more damage to your enemies, and if you manage to break their toughness meters, you get to deal even more, as well as delay their turn or interrupt their channeling abilities, which is incredibly helpful if you want to avoid a big AoE attack or you want to buy time so you can get your HP back up. You can also make use of techniques and consumables for extra advantages before going into a fight. Each character has a technique they can cast outside of battle. Some give buffs, others do a preemptive attack. Activating it can give you an edge at the start of battle. Consumables, on the other hand, aren't always necessary thanks to space anchors, but some of them give buffs like extra attack or defense on your next battle. So if you think your next fight is gonna be tough, go ahead and pop some consumables to give you an edge. After that, one lesson I learned the hard way is you need to unlock your daily content and do them. When I started playing the game, I spent a lot of time chasing after trotters and treasure chests in Hertus Space Station before boarding the Astral Express. I didn't realize that I wasted more than a day's worth of Trailblaze power because of this, which I could have used to farm XP mats or get some extra Trailblaze level XP. So, don't be like me and unlock your daily quests first before you go exploring. The daily training activities give you a good amount of rewards each day, and the Inter-Astral Peace Guide gives you a list of all the available content you can run, from the simulated universe to the caverns of corrosion. Also, around this time, you unlock the Nameless Glory, which is the game's version of a battle pass. You don't need to buy the battle pass, but if you don't like to play a lot every day, it does give you a good chunk of resources. Still, the basic one gives good rewards, so make sure to do the daily quest to progress through it. All this redoable content is important because they're your best source of Trailblaze level XP. The story quests are gated by Trailblaze level, so spending more time on them will help you progress through the story smoothly. Also, side note, you can bring a support character from your friend list in most of these fights. So if you manage to get a friend with a level 80 DPS character, feel free to use them. It will make your farming go a whole lot faster in the early game. Also, watching a level 80 seal wipe out level 40 waves by herself is pretty funny to me. After that, I think it's a good idea to know the game's currencies. So first off, credits are the main currency in the game. We use it for almost everything we do, especially leveling, and we get a ton of it from everywhere. However, according to HoYoLab's level calculator, you need about 900,000 credits to level a character from level 1 to 80, and that doesn't include XP mats and ascension materials. It's also a similar situation for leveling light cones, traces, and relics. The point of the matter is, you're gonna need a lot of credits to build a good team. So, as early as now, be frugal with using your credits, but don't be afraid to use them when you need to. After that, there's the Oneric Shards, the currency you exchange for real money. However, you'll mainly be exchanging them for Stellar Jades. Stellar Jades is the most important currency if you want to get more characters. You can trade them for normal Star Rail passes or special Star Rail passes. You use the normal passes for the standard warp, while you use the special passes for the event warp such as Blade or Kafka's banners. Then, every time you roll, you get either Undying Starlight from 4 or 5 star rolls, or Undying Embers from 3 star rolls. They have their own shops where you can buy materials, Star Rail passes, and other stuff. It's especially important to note that you can buy 5 normal and 5 special Star Rail passes using Undying Embers each month, so make sure to pick those up. If you roll regularly with the free passes you get, you should always have enough Undying Embers to buy them. Next, you get Herta Bonds from playing the simulated universe, while you get Lucent Afterglow from the Forgotten Hall. They can be used to trade for rare light cones from their respective shops. And then, there's the planetary currencies. Each planet we go to has its own. You earn them by doing quests, finding treasure boxes in their respective planets. There's a limited amount of stuff you can buy from them, such as materials, relics, and most importantly, Eidolon upgrades for the Trailblazer. Lastly, and I guess this is the most important topic for me, don't be afraid to level your characters and gear. By now, you guys can understand how scarce resources are in the game, especially if you're gonna be F2P. It's a good idea to focus on a handful of characters to conserve resources. However, in my opinion, I think in the early to mid game, it's a good idea to level all your characters to at least level 40. Unless you started rolling the gacha from the very beginning and you managed to get a couple of S-tier characters, it's not an easy thing to focus on building one team. If you don't have a lot of top-tier characters, all the free characters are still playable, both for the story quests and higher difficulty content, though that one would depend on how well you build them. Personally, I suggest leveling everyone to level 40 because even though it does cost a good amount of credits and XP materials, the Ascension materials are readily available. And in the grand scope of things, it only costs about 10% of the total amount you'd need to max a character. If you don't have one team you can focus on, having a deep bench where you can tailor your team according to your enemy is the next best thing. After level 40 though, you need to be more selective about who you level up because their Ascension materials become harder to farm. Just make sure to level your characters to match your enemies' levels because the game is significantly harder when your characters are underleveled. However, this is somewhat mitigated by the extra stats you get from gear. There are 5 ways to upgrade characters besides leveling them. These are light cones, traces, relics, planar ornaments, and eidolons. It's hard to find good light cones early on. However, a good 3-star light cone in my opinion is still worth leveling up to level 40. That should be enough to carry you through the game until you get a better light cone. Traces are a best source of permanent power-ups. You don't need to max everything from the start. You can prioritize the more important traces first and come back to the low priority ones after you've upgraded the rest of your team. Relics and planar ornaments are also a good source of extra stats. However, due to the very RNG nature of these types of gear, in my opinion, you should only consider hunting for best-in-slot relics once you're firmly in the late game. Just use whatever the game gives you and wait until you get 4-star ones before you try to level one up. If you get one with fairly decent stats, feel free to level those up. Chances are you're gonna use those for a long time. Lastly, eidolons. You upgrade eidolons by getting extra copies of characters. This isn't something you should worry about if you're an F2P player, but it is worth noting that most characters become a lot better at higher eidolon levels. Well, that's all for me today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments section. My tips might not look optimal for more experienced players, but it's how I look at the game. For me, it's way more fun to play the game how you want to play it, more than what other people think is the best. Honestly, I'm still learning the game, but I want to share what I've learned to others. Please drop a like and subscribe. I'm out.